Greetings, creators. Welcome back. Today we're continuing Websters World History. Chronology, the Peace Conference 1919, Negotiations and Treaties 1919. For international events involving new or other minor states, we see also these states by name, especially Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, Czechoslovakia, Finland, Hungary, Yugoslavia, Iraq, Poland, Syria. January 18, Peace Conference of those on Allied side of the war only, opens at Paris. 27 states represented, including Poland, Yugoslavia, instead of Serbia and Montenegro, and Czechoslovakia. China, Japan, and Siam represent the Far East, Hijaz the Near East, Liberia, Africa, 11 Latin American states send delegates, 4 British dominions and India represented in British delegations. Flaminian French Premier elected president. United States, British Empire, France, Italy, and Japan as principal powers form Council of 10, 2 representatives each, and Control Conference. January 22nd. Proposal adopted that 3 representatives of each Russian party should meet Allied representatives at Principe Island in Sea of Marmara on February 15th in order to come to some arrangement about Russia, rejected by anti-Soviet parties. January 25th, second plenary session. Small powers protest against virtual exclusion from deliberations and are rebutted by Clemenceau. Appointment of various commissions to prepare the peace treaties. February 8th. Supreme Economic Council established. February 14th. Third plenary session. Adoption of Covenant of the League of Nations. Wilson departs for U.S. February 16th. Revised amnesty with Germany signed. Line of demarcation drawn between Germany and Poles, the latter remaining in occupation of Posen. February 19th. Clemenceau wounded by would-be assassin. End of February. Reparation question develops in 3 plans. First, British theory, Central Powers. To pay whole cost of war, including expenses of allies. 2. French theory, same except that bills for destruction are to be settled first. 3. American theory, only reparation for wanton damage contrary to rules of war according to pre-Armistice agreement. Estimates of German capacity to pay vary from 10 to 120 billions of dollars. United States decides to ask for no reparation beyond that realized from German property and ships sequestered in U.S. territory. March 14th. Wilson returns to Paris. March 15th, Wilson announces that the establishment of a League of Nations should be made an integral part of the Treaty of Peace. March 17th, military, naval, and air terms for Germany fixed. March 19th, Hungarian armistice line revised to advantage of Romania. This causes Bolshevist revolution in Hungary. March 25th, Council of Ten or Supreme Council gives way to the Council of Four, composed of Wilson, Lloyd George, Clement Seau, and Orlando as having active control of negotiations. Memorandum of Lloyd George urging a moderate peace. March 26th, Austrian fleet finally surrendered at Venice, according to Amatus, being meanwhile in Yugoslav possession. April 7th, Wilson summons the George Washington. April 8th, telegram from 370 members of House of Commons to Lloyd George demanding that he keep his election promises of a strong peace. April 10th, German National Assembly demands peace based on Wilson's 14 points. April 11th, fourth plenary session, International Labour Committee makes final report to conference. Later embodied in treaty, provisions for an International Labour Conference to meet annually. International Labour Officer at seat of League. Labour principles enunciated, including denial of labor as property, collective bargaining, 8-hour day, 1 day's rest in 7, wages adequate to reasonable standard of life, no child labor, equal labor rights for women. So April the 11th, the fourth plenary session, International Labour Committee makes final report to conference, later embodied in treaty, provisions for an International Labour Conference to meet annually, International Labour Officer at seat of League, Labour principles enunciated including denial of labor as property. So they would deny labor as being property on April 11, 1919. Collective bargaining, 8-hour day, 1 day's rest in 7, wages adequate to reasonable standard of life, no child labor, equal labor rights of women. And if your labor is not your property, then you are a slave. April 24th, Wilson issues manifesto on Fiume. Italian delegation leaves Paris. April 28th, fifth plenary session, adoption of revised and clarified League of Nations at a plenary session of conference, provision for withdrawal after 2 years, notice, unanimity of council, disarmament to be approved by governments before put in force, removal of domestic questions, immigration, etc. from jurisdiction of League, safeguard for national policies such as Monroe Doctrine. No nation made a mandatory without its consent. Any country dissenting from an amendment to League ceases thereby to be a member. All nations not represented at conference asked to join League, except Central Powers, Russia, Mexico, Costa Rica, and Dominican Republic. April 30th, Shantung question settled in favor of Japan. On May 6th, Italian delegates return. On May 7th, mandates for German colonies given. See Germany, former African colonies. Great Britain to have mandate over Nauru Island. New Zealand over Samoa Australia over Pacific Islands south of equator, Japan north of equator. Peace treaty delivered to German delegates. May 11th. Germany protests against the treaty as contrary to 14 points. May 30th. German counter proposals. June 2nd. Austrian treaty handed to delegates. June 16th. Allies reply to German proposals. Some concessions are made, but treaty as whole is maintained. June 21st. German naval officers sink their fleet in turn at Sepa flow. Germans at Berlin burned French battle flags captured in War of 1870, return of which treaty demands. New German cabinet formed, which agrees to sign treaty without recognizing responsibility for war and without agreeing to deliver up persons accused of violating laws of war. June 22nd, Council of Four per, peremptorily refuses to accept any qualification and warns of complete blockade and invasion. June 28th, Treaty of Versailles. German peace treaty signed. Cessions, Alsace, Lorraine to France. Certain small sections of Belgium, Sea Belgium, and Czechoslovakia, Posen and West Prussia to Poland, and Memel detached. Plebiscites to determine future of Upper Silesia, see Poland, Schleswig, Holstein, see Denmark, and southern half of East Prussia, see Poland. So Danzig with some territory south and east becomes a free city and port for Poland, see Poland. Saar Basin coal mines handed over to France, League to govern, and after 15 years, plebiscite to decide. Lavenberg detached from Zolaveren and to choose commercial union between Belgium and France. Fortification forbidden on Helgoland, entrance to the Baltic, west of Rhine, or within 30 miles of river on eastern side German colonies renounced. Rights and privileges held against any of allied nations, including China, Islam, Liberia, Morocco, Egypt, renounced. Rights in Shontin turned over to. Alright. That was a bit tough. The print not too good. But I hope I got most of the words correct so you can get the gist of what took place. Alright. This is a map from then showing the different parts. I'll go through it, scroll slowly so you could pause the video and look at the map to see the different areas. See Austria, Hungary here. See Serbia here. Albania here. Turkey there. This is a map of Europe 1914. See Bulgaria here, Romania here, Lithuania here. Germany, France, Britain, Spain. This is Europe 1934. So 1919 continue. Japan, excuse me. So army reduced to 100,000. Compulsory military service forbidden. Limitation on ordnance and military equipment specified. Navy not to have more than 36 surface vessels of limited displacement. No submarines. Further surrenders prescribed. No Air Force. All existing material to be surrendered. Ex-emperor arraigned for crimes against civilization. Netherlands to be asked to surrender him for trial by allies. Germany agrees to deliver for military trial persons accused of violating laws of war and furnish information respecting their acts. Aggression of Germany and her allies acknowledged as basis for reparation. Such reparation to be made for loss and damages as reparations commission shall determine. Restitution in kind, including certain historical and artistic articles. Cost of armies of occupation to be charged to Germany. Occupation to continue with gradual withdrawal for 15 years or longer if treaty is not carried out. Various rivers internationalized. Kiel Canal open to merchant and war vessels of all nations at peace with Germany. Other economic provisions. Treaty also embodies the League and labor provisions. Estimated money costs of the war. These figures are necessarily subject to various modifications. In the main, the cost is that of the increase during the period of the war over the normal peace expenditures. But the cost of the war does not end with the cessation of hostilities, while it includes advances to allies. In the case of United States, 9,598,857,645. In Great Britain, 8 billion. In France, 1 billion. And Germany, 2 billion. A portion of these will be recovered, and reparations by Central Powers will increase their ultimate cost and diminish that of allies. And now we have the allies here, and we have a listing of the costs. All the allies: Great Britain, Canada, Australia, India, New Zealand, South Africa, United States, France, Russia, Italy, Romania, Belgium, Serbia, Greece, Japan, and other allies. And the provisional total is 145 billion. Central Powers: Germany, Austria, Hungary, Turkey, Bulgaria. Provisional total 63 billion. American war debt as of June 30th, 1919. First Liberty Loan, 1 billion. Or we could round it off to 2 billion. Second Liberty Loan, 3 billion. Third Liberty Loan, 4 billion. Fourth Liberty Loan, 7 billion. Fifth Liberty Loan, 3 billion. War savings and thrift stamps, 1 billion. Or let me say 953,997,435. Certificates of indebtedness, 4 billion, for a total of 24,351,136,284. That is the American war debt as of June 30th, 1919. Private loans to belligerent countries, raised in the United States since the outbreak of the war and down to July 1st, 1920. Short time notes. All right, I had to jump up here, guys. I was supposed to read across the top of the page to finish that article. So I'm gonna read the top of the page here to link this column with the other two, and then we're gonna continue into the statistics of the World War. All right, that is my bad, guys. So Franco-British-American Alliance Treaty signed subject to ratification by the U.S. Senate. United States and Great Britain agree, subject to approval of League, to go immediately to aid of France in case of unprovoked aggression by Germany. Not ratified by United States or Great Britain. Poland signs treaty with principal powers guaranteeing rights of racial minorities. Similar treaties required of other new Eastern nations. July the 9th, Germany ratifies treaty. July the 10th, Wilson presents treaty to U.S. Senate. See United States for further history. July the 11th, blockade except as to Hungary and Soviet Russia formally raised. August, Romanians in Hungary. See Hungary. August the 8th, Belgium ratifies treaty. August the 9th, Anglo-Persian agreement. See Persia. September the 10th, Treaty of Saint-Germain-en-Laye. Austrian peace treaty signed. See Austria, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia. Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia signed minorities treaties with the principal powers. September 16, Anglo-French agreement on Syria. See Syria. September 19, Bulgarian peace treaty handed to her delegates. October 10th, British ratification sent to Paris. Was passed July 31st, but held up to await approval of dominions. October the 13th, French ratification completed. October the 25th, Austria ratifies Treaty of Saint-Germain. October the 30th, Japan ratifies. November the 6th, Supreme Council calls Germany's attention to various matters in which armistice has not been carried out. Failure to deliver equipment or to withdraw troops, destruction of vessels at Scapa Flow. Protocol for compensation framed. 400,000 tons of tugs, floating docks, and other maritime equipment to offset sinkings at Scapa Flow. Germany does not sign until January 10, 1920, when amount reduced to 275,000 tons. November 27, Treaty of Neuilly sur Seine, Bulgarian peace treaty signed. See Bulgaria. December 9th, Romania signs Minorities Treaty. American delegates leave peace conference. All right. Now we're gonna continue the statistics of the World War. Here we're continuing from private loans to belligerent countries. So in the United States, so raised in the United States since the outbreak of the war and down to July 1st, 1920. Short time notes. Which were taken up during the war mainly by substitution of longer-term notes not included. So Great Britain, you had Anglo-French, United Kingdom, so this is under Great Britain, all right. France, you had Anglo-French, City of Paris, City of Bordeaux, City of Lyon, City of Marseille, Belgium, Germany, Russia, Italy, Canada, provincial and municipal Newfoundland, a total of 1,595,511,366. Now we have debts of allied countries to the United States. January 1st, 1933. And we have a footnote from table in New York Times compiled from Treasury records. So these debts of allied countries to the United States, January 1st, 1933. So Great Britain was indebted let me say 4 billion. France was indebted 4 billion. Italy was indebted 2 billion. Belgium 400 million. Russia 300 million. Poland 200 million. Czechoslovakia 100 million. Romania 63 million. Yugoslavia 61. Greece 32. Estonia 17 million. Finland 8 million. Latvia 7 million. Lithuania 6 million, for a total of 11,740,617,730. Notice the dollar sign. Notice the sign before the numbers has two strokes, right? The sign had two strokes, the S and two strokes. So this is how much the allied countries was indebted to the United States. Now we have names of belligerents and dates of entry into the war. Central Powers, Austria-Hungary, July 28, 1914, they entered the war. Germany, August 1st, 1914. Turkey, November 5th, 1914. Bulgaria, October 14, 1915. Allies entered the war. Serbia, July 28th, 1914. That was the same time as Hungary. August 1st, 1914. Same time as Germany. Russia entered the war, same time as Germany. France, August 3rd, 1914. Belgium, August 4th. Great Britain, August 4th. So Belgium and Great Britain entered the war one day before Turkey. No, sorry. No, Turkey was November. So Belgium, August the 4th. Great Britain, August the 4th. Montenegro, August the 8th. Japan, August the 23rd. And Italy, May the 23rd, 1915. So Italy joined the next year. Bulgaria also joined the next year. Portugal, March 1916. Romania, the 27th of August 1916. Greece, Provisional Government, November 23rd, 1916. United States joined the war April the 6th, 1917. Cuba, April the 7th, 1917. Panama, April the 7th, 1917. Siam, July 22nd, 1917. Liberia, August the 4th, 1917. China, August the 14th, 1917. Brazil, October the 26th, 1917. Guatemala, April the 22nd, 1918. Nicaragua, May the 6th, 1918. Costa Rica, May the 23rd, 1918. Haiti, July the 15th, 1918. Honduras, July the 19th, 1918. Is when these countries and our allies entered the war. Countries that served diplomatic intercourse with Germany without declaring war. Bolivia, April the 14th, 1917. Peru, October the 5th, 1917. Uruguay, October the 7th, 1917. Ecuador, December the 7th, 1917. Total countries involved. Central Group 4, Allied Group 23, and partially engaged 31. So the cost of war in men, and let me see it have a footnote. So these estimates founded on direct and indirect costs of the Great World War by E.L. Bogart. It is estimated that probably 50% of those listed as prisoners and missing are dead. Alright? So the Allies, Russia, dead, wounded, missing. So Russia, let me round it off. 3 million dead. 5 million wounded. Prisoners and missing. Let me say 3 million. French Empire, 1.5 million dead, 3 million wounded, 500,000 prisoners and missing. British Empire, 1 million dead, 2 million wounded, 70,000 prisoners and missing. Serbia, 700,000 dead, 400,000 wounded, 100,000 prisoners and missing. Italy, 500,000, 1 million, 1.4 million. Romania, 400,000 dead, 200,000 wounded, 117,000 or 116,000 missing. Belgium, 267,000 dead, 140,000 wounded, 10,000 prisoners and missing. United States, 107,000 dead, 191,000 wounded, 5,000 prisoners are missing. There's a footnote here for United States. 2. Later official statement for the American Expeditionary Forces gives only 77,118 deaths, 222,000 wounded, and 4,432 prisoners. So the figures were adjusted. Greece, 15,000 dead, 40,000 wounded, 45,000 prisoners and missing. Portugal, 4,000 dead, 17,000 wounded, 200 prisoners and missing. Japan, 300 dead, wounded, 907 prisoners and missing 3. Central Powers, Germany, 1.7 million dead, 3.8 million wounded, 800,000 prisoners and missing. Austria-Hungary, 900,000 dead, 3 million wounded, 500,000 prisoners and missing. Turkey, 400,000 dead, 400,000 wounded, 100,000 prisoners and missing. Bulgaria, 100,000, 1.2 million wounded, 10,000 or 11,000 prisoners and missing. And that was the statistics of the World War. As I told you guys before, this book is a partial of the complete book. It's not the complete book, so there are some pages missing. So what we're getting is just a gist of the history of the world in this book. All right, we're not getting all the pages. Some pages missing. All right, but the information is still relevant. So now we're on to 6, the post-war period, 1919 to 1933. So this is after the World War. So after the war, this is the things that take place. So we have the League of Nations. You know what? I'm gonna stop here, guys. I'm gonna take the post-war period on our next read. All right. I'm gonna stop there. All right. I'm gonna take the post-war period 1919 to 1933 on our next read. All right. Thank you guys for your time and patience. All right. Remember, strengthen body, powers, and mind. Stay up.